hear me? Is the mic on? Okay. Actually, I'm not a singer. You really wouldn't want to hear that. I've been blessed to have the good fortune of being a lyricist, and it turns out an unorthodox problem solver, which sometimes involves inventing things. And let me just get started here. And forgive me for possibly omitting certain bits of the story. It's supposed to be moving here. All right. This is the One World Futbol project, and you got a bit of the background on it. I traveled the world for years, and I'd seen children playing with whatever they could improvise. Everything from bottles to cans to rocks to wads of trash, anything they could scavenge. And finally, in 2006, I was watching a clip on CNN, a group of traumatized children in the middle of the desert, seen their families destroyed and murdered, and they were able to, in just a few moments, have a few moments of laughter and play, but the only thing they were able to play with was a rock. And it just, it's not about, we all bring our life experience forward, and I came out of a very abusive and a violent early childhood, and I know I was just so identifying with their situation, and I just knew what they needed was a frickin' ball. They didn't need anybody with another agenda and another message coming in there telling them how to live a certain way. They just needed to play, and the science bears that out. Play, as most of us know, it's incredibly important to physical, social, and emotional development, and it's a great tool for post-traumatic stress, among other things. And since I'm a big kid who can't seem to grow up, hence the acne from the last night, of course, the day before we start this thing. So, yeah. Luckily, I don't look in the mirror often. I'll let you suffer with that. So our mission, basically, is to unleash the power of play and sport in conditions where traditional balls fail. All sports balls are only designed for ideal conditions of grass and turf, a perfect level playing field. As soon as they hit barbed wire, glass, anything that's sharp, they immediately pop. They can't be repaired. They go in the trash. Basically, we want to liberate the game from the field. And this is something that we just assumed there was nothing to do. There was no way you could fix that. We never even realized that was a problem. We just dealt with it by improvising wads of trash, which I will. This is a very good example of banana leaves and so on that children in Uganda make and play with every day. Hundreds of millions of children. Our product is the most durable ball in the world. I can proudly say that. This is an example of one that I've carried around the world with me since we started. We launched officially 1 year ago. You can see, and I'm going to bounce this. I hope it doesn't make a loud sound, but you can see that it bounces just fine. And it's the same size and weight as a traditional ball. However, it's been cut open. I took a knife and cut it open. And when you inspect it closely, it's been punctured hundreds of times with nails and barbed wire. And yet, it's got decades of use and play, and it will always be used for as it was designed for. The only way you can make it not be a ball is if you cut it into pieces. This is an example of one that a woman bought for her dog, and she had this for a year. And I saw this on Facebook. She showed it. This is after a year of being bitten and chewed and messed with, and it'll still play for a child in the middle of nowhere. So, and our strategy is to work with NGOs, governments, military, U.S. military, all over the world, wherever children are, schools, orphanages, NGOs, and so on. There's a new movement some of you may know about. It's called Sport for Peace and Development. And under the United Nations, there's a vast amount of research and work going into working with children because of the structure that sports provides. So this will last for decades. In its lifetime, this costs sometimes up to 3 to 4 to 5 times as much as a traditional cheap soccer ball. Instead of $5, it can be $15 to $20. But it replaces hundreds to thousands of balls every time in its lifetime. And so virtually every day, this ball basically reduces, reuses, and recycles itself. And what most of us don't realize is that when we donated soccer balls to Haiti and Africa and Iraq, most of them are popped and dead within an hour. Most of them don't make it through 24 hours, and generally none of them make it through even a week. And we have now done some research to prove that. And now we have a little video that we'll show you. It's about play.
Football is religion here.
Simple power. Thank you. It's just been an extraordinary journey. If you'd asked me a couple years ago that I'd be in the ball business, I would have just laughed. I had no idea. Again, it's about following the vision that's given to you and just telling the story, and the right people show up. We are now, we just had our first anniversary. We are now in almost 130 countries on 6 continents, all 50 states, and with over 100 different organizations, from UNICEF to these organizations that work for support and for peace and development. They're using soccer to teach children. Sport in general is a great delivery system for important skills, but soccer, being the most played sport on the planet, is the most organized area of sport for peace and development. So they, for example, when they got in Africa, there's 2 large groups that teach children about AIDS prevention during the practices. While they have their attention in Cambodia and Afghanistan, they teach them about landmine awareness. There are groups in Israel, too, that we work with that teach conflict resolution, cultural understanding, where they mix Israeli and Palestinian children together on teams and just let them play. And within a game or 2, there's no more animosity. They just see their humanity, and things move forward smoothly. And they're also teaching throughout the Latin world and the Islamic world. There are groups that are working very hard using soccer to teach children about gender equality and women's rights in places where they're forbidden to play. So that's one of the things that we get to help. And all of that work is so important. That's the real wonderful thing here. We provide a way We get to work with all of that. We're not a new NGO. We don't have a separate agenda. We're not political. We're not philosophical. We're providing a very simple tool that allows these people to just do their work more effectively. They don't have to stop because the ball is destroyed or because they don't have enough money to buy more balls, which is it's a tragedy. 20 million balls a year on average just go in the trash. And they range anywhere from $5 to $50 to $150 to replace. So in our brief time, it's made quite an impact, and we've gotten a lot of recognition, and it's been very rewarding. And it's really, I don't care if the children ever say, oh, what a cool technology. It's more, again, about letting children be children and let them play. The rest takes care of itself. The opportunity is quite substantial. And I'm going to breeze through some of these quotes, so don't try to read it all, but if you can, that's great. The power of play changes attitudes, and it opens people up to all kinds of ideas and new things, and it gives them a way to express themselves in a controlled and effective way to blow off steam and so on. It's so important that the United Nations has mandated that when you go into a disaster zone, war zone, or refugee camp, that before you even worry, after you do food, medicine, and shelter, before you even worry about setting up school and education, you must organize sports immediately. It offers structure, it gives adults time to think and breathe and so on, and it just keeps everybody connected to civilization. In places where there's irrational violence, it can give children keep them grounded in the idea that you can have honorable conflict resolution and honorable disagreements without violence. So sport brings a lot of benefits, all sport, not just soccer. And the fact is that even if you bounce a ball like this to a child who's never played soccer, it doesn't matter. Everybody remembers, or it's so visceral and so primal that we don't even remember the first time we played with a ball. We just know that it brings a lot of joy. And that's the most important part. Everybody, to a person that hears about this project or that hears about this ball, no matter how old we are, it touches that primal place that just makes everybody glow. And it's great. It's healing for me and everybody along the way. UNICEF just did a study in Uganda that compared some of our balls against, it was about 100 of our balls against 1,000 traditional soccer balls. This is the result. This was a 4-month-long study. They wanted to prove the economics of what we were doing and the impact. 75% were gone in less than a week. And 80%, in one district, 80% of the balls were gone in the first day. After 4 months, there was only one ball missing, and it was because they lost it. So, good friend, never thought in my whole life that I would end up in this situation with somebody like that, and it's just by the grace of, as I generally say, I'm more idiot than savant, and I just, sometimes to do something interesting in the world, it takes balls, and that's how we got here. This is just an idea of the scope we're talking about. Basically, 7 billion people on the planet, 3.5 billion people are avid soccer fans. It's the only sport you can play without a field and without a ball. That's one of the reasons it's so popular. More than 50% of our planet is under the age of 30, 30% under 18. Children under 12, in the world today, there's 2.2 billion children. Literally half of those children live in abject poverty and below. And even at 1 million balls a year, if we were ever to be so lucky, it would take us 100 years to only reach 10% of today's children that live just in poverty, not including our own children right here at home. Well, that is including the poverty that goes on right here in this country. It's not just over there. Every inner city, every environment where there's no grass and turf deserves a ball that won't wear out. Schools, it saves a lot of money. We'll be developing a full line of sports balls as well to do that. One of the other things that makes us unique is we realized we had the opportunity to become part of the buy one, give one business model. We're known as a B corporation, for those of you who aren't familiar with that. B stands for benefit, and it's a growing and very effective business model where we all there's over 500 companies now, including seventh generation, and several other large notable companies have switched over to this model where we subscribe to the triple bottom line, which is you put people first, then planet, then profit. And it seems to be working out pretty good. Back in 1914, as an example, the Christmas Day truce in the First World War, it's historic, and it's documented that spontaneously they called a one-day truce, and spontaneously the Germans and the English came out of the trenches and ended up kicking a ball around. And it had such an impact on them because they could play the game without speaking to each other and having to understand each other's language, and they could have fun. And the next day, when they were ordered to go back to fighting each other, they literally couldn't fire at each other because they'd seen their humanity. They had to replace all those soldiers with fresh recruits in order to keep the war going another 3 years. So it took balls for enemies to come together then. It takes balls now. Conflict resolution all over the world. In tribal affairs, territorial disputes, wherever it's possible, they try to bring people together through sport. And we have the balls. We've even given this ball to a lion, and he couldn't destroy it. The young man down there on the left, you saw his video earlier, Kyle and his family, Fundafield. We've done some projects together. Incredible what they have done. And that's just part of the joy for us, is that we get to be part of all of those great things that other people have. We're just a part of it, but it's kind of like the glue and the lubrication. It pulls people together, and it makes it easier for them to be together, having a ball like that. And the reality is we realize that the single largest market segment, if you look at it from a marketing point of view, from the single largest sport on the planet, is the least served by the industry itself. Nike, Adidas, Puma, they've all seen the ball. We've met, they've talked. We're willing to manufacture it and license it to them. They just weren't interested. They can't imagine a world where, so we actually say this is the first real ball for real people in the real world. And, it's incredible. And as a lyricist, this is my work in progress about what we're doing. And I'm very grateful for your time, and look forward to continuing the journey and inviting you all to be part of it in any way, shape, or form. We work with faith-based organizations, anybody, everybody. We have people just buying one or two and carrying it in their luggage and dropping it off wherever they go. So please take one. They make great gifts, and for every one that you buy for your family, we can give one away. And we are in the process of negotiating with large corporations. We'll make it in their color, with their pattern, their logo on it. It doesn't matter to us. It's most importantly that children get to be children. So bless you, and thank you for your time.